So, if you don't mind us asking, where in the world are you from? So that helped bring about the sound.
I'm from Belgium,
Mm, okay.
so yeah, hardcore sounds and alike is kind of part of the culture. At least everyone at least has heard of it one way or another.
Okay. So, with like how EDM is still like very niche and underground, with a lot of like as like a subculture in a lot of the world. Um, for you out there, is it like something that you like hear regularly on the radio? Kind of like an indie underground like sound.
um, it kind of depends. Um, there's like one or two artists that like actually make it like hardstyle or hardcore that sometimes make it on the radio because they became or they're that popular. But it's like only sometimes like one or two songs, and then you don't hear about them for a for a year or so from the radio, and you have to look them up on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, it's not unheard of for like the more heavier EDM genres to make it on the radio sometimes.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really so. Is that where you started hearing it, or did you just like stumble upon it through like an AMV?
Well, like it honestly all started with like the I don't know if you've heard of it, like jump style hype back in secondary school or high school. Um, so yeah, it was all the hype. Everyone knew about it, everyone did it, and then it evolved. I mean, from there, you get to know hardcore, and then it evolves. Jump style evolved then into hardstyle, and that actually got the ball rolling. And Um, yeah, I just went on looking for like harder and faster and more like not always like super aggressive or such, like something that brings like good emotions, like happy emotions. Some things that bring familiarity, like all the samples I've played during my set. Like uh, there's at least a handful of samples that you've recognized, I'm sure. Um, so yeah, that's kind of very briefly or how the ball got rolling.
Hell yeah, yeah. Like
So how does one go about finding those kinds of tracks? Do you like discover them on SoundCloud or YouTube, or does Spotify even find it for you?
No, you can't find this on Spotify, unfortunately, actually. Uh, it would be really awesome because then I could listen to it in the car. But no, most of, if not all of my tracks come from Bandcamp. Like I follow certain labels and certain artists, and how I got to find them. That's a good question. How did I stumble upon them? Uh, I don't really remember. I think I was searching for Frenchcore, like um, yeah, Frenchcore, but not from like big producers, like more like bedroom producers or like smaller producers. And I think from there I just got yeah, just clicked further. I stumbled upon it on Bandcamp. Because some of the artists that I played also have some Frenchcore songs, or something that sounds close to Frenchcore. So then, yeah, I got curious and but yeah, it's all on Bandcamp. It's all from very specific labels and artists. Sometimes even the Internet Archive. Some people upload it there for free. So if you're really interested in the genre, you can find free albums on the Internet Archive.
okay, yeah, like that's definitely something like I'd love to hear more of, just like in general, because
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of that kind of music reminds me of, like Dance Dance Revolution. I could just see it, just like imagine them like going through and like hitting all the arrows and that kind of stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's fast enough for some of those tournament songs, so I can also see it happen. Actually, yeah.
Hmm. So with the nomenclature, like you're saying, like French core, hardcore, right? So like, what is it specifically that makes it core? Like, because then also I'm like hearing things like Daria core. You know, is there something specific with that, or is it kind of
I honestly have no idea. I know Frenchcore comes. Well, they took it from hardcore, but it's hardcore originally made in France, so that's why Frenchcore. I don't know how they got on the name hardcore or Dario core, or I'm not really sure why they call it core. It's like the same with metalcore and deathcore and what have you. Um, I have no idea. I just take it as is.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Maybe it's just because of how much a core workout it gives you. Uh,
Wouldn't surprise me.
yeah. But for you, who are some of your favorite artists from hardcore and Frenchcore as separate genres? Just like say, name some of yours from each, and then give us a little bit of why.
Well, concerning Frenchcore, like my more favorite artists are like Hyrule War and um, yeah, Dr. Peacock as well. Even if he's like so very popular and very mainstream, he was like the first artist I got to know for Frenchcore, and yeah, it always stuck with me. Like he also makes a lot of songs with a lot of like cultural songs or music integrated into it. Um, like a lot of his songs, like Trip to insert country, and then it has like uh, cultural references for that country, and it's something I really like and really enjoy. Like it gives you a chance to hear about well local cultures for the local music of that culture. When it comes to like dancecore and mashcore, like the music I played just earlier, um, my most favorite artists are like Shubil and DJ Kurara. Um, Shubil is also one of the first artists that uh, I've heard for that music genre, which is meshcore slash dancecore, and he is like some special, like his songs have like a special personality which I really enjoy. Plus all those pop references, like it gives me a sense of familiarity, a sense of like I can dance to this, I can party to this, and yeah, like the songs in themselves are also like very chaotic with the aim and break all over the place, the samples all over the place, and yeah, it it might sound weird, but it gives me a sense of uh, peace and rest, for, at least in my head. Um, but that might be the HGAD thing. So yeah, and DJ Kurara is from Japan. Um, Also a great person, and like they use a lot of they do dance core, but more on the faster side, from 230 to 260 BPM, and it's it's a mix of French core as well. Like the kicks are usually French core, but with samples like pop samples and even breaks layered on top of them, and that's also something I really enjoy. Like again, like for the chaos, but I like French core kicks. Like they're like a nice sound, and like, they have a nice like bassy tail. Um, so yeah, I enjoy listening to them.
Yeah. Yeah, like when you were playing your set, like I could just like imagine what it'd feel like if I had like a Woojer on, or like even at like a festival, like just feeling the kick of that on the speakers, like
Oh
and just
yeah,
like knock
I've
the
been to two events in the UK where I played breakcore and the likes. One of those I performed at Edinburgh, and I can assure you, it is quite the experience. Like a Woojer compares nothing to it. Like you literally feel the air move at such high speeds and tempo. It's an insane experience. It's great. It's really, I can highly recommend if you ever find something in your area.
I would love to see something like that happen. The closest I get to that is like a techno show, and like techno's fun, but like I don't think I've ever experienced like a kick like that at such a fast rate. uh, but you said you played live. Like, what's that experience like for you, at least?
At first I was insanely nervous. Like, in theory it's all the same, right? Whether you play in your bedroom in VR or at a venue in Edinburgh. And in essence it is the same, but yet so different. Like in real life it's way easier to like be in the moment, see the people dance, see the people interact with you, see their emotions, see them just go wild. The thing that still sticks with me to this day is when I was playing a certain song, and a girl came up to the booth, and she was just going wild and going uh, like it really made me happy that people were really like enjoying the show in the moment. While in VR, it's, well, at least for me, it's much harder because I need to wear glasses and need to put my headset on my forehead, so I'm not really there. And yeah, like especially the
Like,
facial expressions, they do a lot. Like I'm sure the moment like facial tracking becomes the norm in VRChat, it will change a lot of the average or like the overall what's the word again?
the vibe.
The vibe. There we go. There we go. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like when I was behind the decks, I was just like, I could not help but be like, and it was like had the nastiest like bass face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely something you don't really get to see too much in the VR space. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
though, because
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's something I'm looking forward towards. When everyone has face tracking, you can see it all live. Well, unless you're me and you have to put your headset on your forehead.
yeah, like the special DJ trick of like nose peeking through your set to like look at your git and everything like that.
Yeah, unfortunately that doesn't
Yeah.
work for me because my eyes are too bad. So yeah, it's really unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Is there any special tricks you do though, while you're DJing, or like anything special like when you're at the decks to like really enhance, I guess, the musical experience? Like any special transitions you do, or like, because me being a fellow DJ is like I'm like trying to figure out like how do you like mix between these two songs, because like there's like with most songs like you'll hear like the break and like you'll have that breather moment to transition between it. How do
Hmm.
you do something like that?
Um, it really depends on the two songs I want to mix together. Sometimes it's really hard to find like a transition point, and then I'm kind of forced to just play it on the last beat, you know. Um, Especially with genres like this because there's no rules. That's like the beauty of breakcore. There's no rules. Um, but it makes it harder to mix. So yeah, sometimes like you said, I use like the breakpoints where it goes like to like the volume goes down, and I just move the other one in. Sometimes I layer the songs and move it in like that. Sometimes it's I have no choice but to do a hard transition and do it like on one bar, like up and yeah. Um, yeah, just there's honestly different ways, and it really depends on the song because they're all so different.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So whenever you're building a crate, then like I know you like we heard about this, like you want to at least like a week up and the like. Um, so for you, do you have like a method to like putting your set list together, or you just kind of like have like, okay, I know what these songs sounds like. I'll throw these in here and then figure it out on the spot, or are you more actually like, all right, this can go with this can go with this, but if I do this and this kind of thing, like
Um, yeah, so how I usually start is I pick a random key as a starting point, and then I pick songs from there that I like and that I feel like, yeah, those fit together, like the vibe of those two songs fit together, etc. And then usually I end up with a crate of like 30, 40 songs. Um, and once I'm there, I start like seeing which fit together, which can I transition together, which are good. And usually about, let's say, 10 to 20 songs ish, kind of, I have to remove because I don't fit. Um but at the end, I will always end up with an hour, which is the usual DJ length, set length. Uh, so yeah, it's like I pick a bunch that I like, I put it in, and I delete the ones I unfortunately cannot fit together.
okay, that's cool. That's really cool. Like it's like you have your own specific method that works best with you, and I really like that.
Hmm.
I really like that. Hmm. And so, hmm, with that and like the like the VR space versus the real space, like how much pressure do you feel in VR compared to IRL though? Like because you know how it's like in VR, if you mess up, no one's really gonna like say anything, but like out there on the big speakers, like even the smallest thing, you can hear it on like I don't even know what the line six is. I think is the phrase something like that. Sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, well, to me, there wasn't much difference. The venue I performed at, there were like yeah, like kind of like in VRChat. They were like, oh, like if you make a mistake, all is fine. We're just here to enjoy the vibe. We're here for the kicks, and like usually, well, if it's a small mistake, like people don't even notice, and it's the same in VR. It's the same in real life. You know, yeah, people are just going on the beat, dancing. They don't hear like the half a bar of desync you made, like you know.
Yeah.
Um, of course, I had the unfortunate moment in Edinburgh where certain songs didn't want to load, so my set was like cut short, unfortunately. Um, but at the end, people still came to me and they were like, "Yeah, good set," and it's unfortunate that you couldn't, finish the whole set, but I really liked it, and you know, so at least from my one experience, I guess, in Edinburgh, it was the same as in VRChat in that regard. Like, yeah, very open, very friendly, very plur. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I love that. Yes. I'm glad that they have that out there too. And I think that's like a very global philosophy, I guess you could
Mm-hmm.
say, concept, that is part of rave culture. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, so since you brought up Fleur, what was the first festival you ever attended? Or if not festival, at least like rave or like, the big show,
Um, I've never been to EDM festivals. Because I personally don't really have much interest in like the big mainstream things like hardstyle and hardcore here in the area. Uh, and just regular electronic dance music is not really my vibe, like Tomorrowland. It's too slow for me. uh, so yeah, like the big uh, kind of underground party I went to was in Leeds. I flew over with some friends from my friend group in VRChat. We met there. It was really fun. That's where I saw like Shit and Showbill, DJ Degradation. Like, yeah, like in that culture, like kind of big names, and it was it was really fun. It was, yeah, like feeling like like I said, the bass on you, like feeling the air vibrate and move. It was yeah, I really liked that. That was cool. And yeah, all the people were friendly. So
Good. That's good. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And then, what was it like meeting your? So was that the first time you got to meet some of the VR crew in real space, or have you at least like done some meetups and like grab lunch together beforehand?
we've been to the the very first time we met up was in Germany, and we went to a theme park called Phantasialand. And that's where like we rented an Airbnb and we stayed there for I think a weekend, like for 4-ish days. Um, yeah, there we met up, we had fun, we went to the theme park, we had barbecue. Uh, so that was the very first time. The second time was in Leeds, then in the UK, where we went to the event. So yeah, like
That's cool.
almost every year we meet up somewhere in Europe. Um, last year, my friends met up in Italy. I couldn't make it, unfortunately. And this year, they're meeting, I think it's this month. What are we? July, June? Somewhere this month, they are going to UK again, to the Isle of Wight. Which I cannot make it again, unfortunately, but hopefully next time. So, yeah, but yeah, almost every year we meet up somewhere in, well, continent, Europe.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, like out here, where a lot of us are. I feel like it's a very common thing in VR, of just being like, "Yeah, let's go hang out," and then like you're all like we're all at least like a flight away from each other.
Yeah. Usually we are. Like I'm very in the center of Europe, so everything from me is like 1 or 2 hours by plane, and I'm there. Um, but yeah, everything is close, very close together. So yeah, that's really nice.
That's good. That's good. So, for you, was VR like something that you did like when the quarantine initially hit, or was it something that you've already been doing before?
It was when it initially hit. I first started playing VRChat in September 2020. Initially because I needed a distraction, because I just quit smoking back then. So I needed something to distract myself so I won't run up the walls. Um, and that's where it initially happened. Um, I'm sure almost everyone knows about Walter H. Like everyone knows about this magnificent being. He was the person that got me into VRChat. Um, and it all came from there. He introduced me to DDVR in October, November, and from there Rizumu, and that's how I got into the racing in VRChat. Back then, also there was almost no EU rave scene, bar maybe one or two venues that we didn't even know about. So um, usually, then me and my friends usually had to wait till 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning just to go to Rizumu for 2 or 3 DJ slots and then go to bed. But yeah, that's how we did it back in the day.
So, what are some of the VR clubs you're currently involved with?
Not so many actually. I've been taking a break from anything club related, like administration or stuff around that. I am kind of involved with Vanguard, which is a European venue. In there, I made their new map together with my girlfriend. She did the Blender side, which I absolutely suck at, and I did the Unity side, which she absolutely sucked at. So we made a great deal. So I'm kind of involved there, not really like staff, but I maintain the map. If there's bugs or changes stuff, I do that. But other than that, I am not really involved with other venues. Mainly because I'm taking a break from my mental health. I've been severely mentally exhausted for almost a year now, so I don't have any mental energy anymore to spend on other stuff and booking DJs and stuff. I'm just taking it easy. Here and there, I DJ like I do now, like I did right now. But yeah, that's about it.
Definitely. I feel like that's something that a lot of people in VR really don't do too much of, or at least like don't get a chance to do too much of, which is honestly take a break and just like recharge the batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I have
But
friends who can be doing 5 sets in a weekend, and I really wonder where they get the energy from. It's insane. Like after the second set, I would already be dead. Like I don't know how they do it.
yeah, I feel that. Yeah, it's like for me sometimes there'd be like a night where I would take like when I used to do that kind of stuff too, like I would begin to dislike a lot of the music I was playing because it was like redundant, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah. And I'm one of the people who would like recycle a set or like jump between a bunch of crates, so I get where you're coming from, like not being able to stick with it for so often.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, though, world building. What made you choose world creation versus like the other avenues that are in VR?
Oh well. It started like I'm the kind of problem solver that where like if it's something particular that I need or want and it doesn't exist, I just do it on my own. I just I just make it. You know, I'm not going to wait around for someone to serve it to me on a silver platter, right? I I just do it myself then, right? And it all started from there. Um, that and like cool stuff I find on Booth or on Twitter of people making, or even on GitHub. Like for example, LTCGI or Aerial. I was really curious how that worked. Even Audio Link, and before that there was another shader that did exactly that. I forgot the name. Sound Reactive something. It was from a Japanese person. Um, and I was just curious how that worked. So about it, or I downloaded it. I made a makeshift venue kind of thing because I know what else would you use Aerial or Audio Link for, you know? And yeah, and then initially after working on it and figuring out how it works, then suddenly, oops, it's a venue, you know. So yeah, that's usually how it kind of started, and now sometimes, yeah, I mean, for me it's also easier. I don't need to deal with weight painting. I don't need to deal with whatever you need to do on an avatar. It's yeah, like, and Unity animators are so weird for me. Like it's difficult for me to grasp. And you know, in with role building, I just make an Udon Sharp script. It's way easier. I have a programming background, so it's way easier to do that. Yeah, and I don't really have to keep myself within certain limits for like polygons and what have you. Of course, you know, best practice is to keep limits to it, but at least I can go over 32k polygons, you know. So yeah, and yeah, I just find creating worlds more fun than it is to create different avatars. So I mean, I still do the Unity work on this avatar all myself. The modeling is done by a very talented 3D artist, Mary. So because yet again, I am terrible at Blender. But like the audio link, the shading, and what have, that's all Unity. That's what I do. But it's it's not a specialty.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's really cool.
So, with the Unity side, did you have any prior experience to handling Unity before VRChat, or did you kind of like go, "All right, I can do this," and then just kind of picked it up and went ham at it?
Yeah, actually, that I had no experience with Unity whatsoever. I've seen it maybe once or twice during Twitch stream, but that's about it. So yeah, at first, like I wanted my own avatar, commissioned someone to make one, which was a Vroid. And that's how I first like opened Unity, and then I looked at it, how it was done, etc. Then if I wanted to change something, instead of bothering the artist again, I would do it myself, and I would look up tutorials and how things worked, and from there, it all kept going. So yeah, I'm usually self-taught. I look up documentation, I look up tutorials, I look up all kinds of resources.
So mostly self-taught. That's really
Mhm.
and I feel like that's what a lot of it comes down to when it comes to the VR side, you know. And
Mhm.
so for those on the outside looking in, I'd say that's something that's incredibly intimidating. What advice do you have for people who want to get into VR, but like, you know, they have the little bit of everything of like, oh, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have experience in doing this. What's some advice you could give for everyone outside looking in on this?
Well, it's not really VR specific. You can even apply it in real life. But if you feel intimidated, but with I cannot do this or I cannot do that, change that mindset and change it into I want to learn how to do it, and look up resources and start learning. And it's all right to make mistakes. It's all right to fail even. You know, just pick it back up. You know. Yeah. Um, Almost nothing in life, from my experience, will be handed to you on a silver platter. You know, if you want something, just get it yourself. Work for it. If you want to become a top grade programmer, well, you know, it's not the knowledge is not going to magically appear in your brain. So yeah, you look up resources, and it's the same with DJing. It's the same with producing. It's the same with world building. It's the same with everything. I wanted to make a specific thing in VRChat for a world, and I looked up how to do it, and I got to it.
Yeah. I'd say that's a huge just like lesson in life. It's like you want to do something, just get up and do it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. For me, it always has been common sense.
So, of the worlds you've made, what's your favorite one so far?
Well, actually, the latest one, Vanguard, the new Vanguard venue, because I didn't do the modeling work. My girlfriend Naomi did it, and so to me it looks great because yeah, I mean she made it. She knows what she's doing in Blender. I don't. So and because it looks so great, you know, all the lightning and stuff, like really, like you know, works well with the modeling and the aerial aid and the audio link and stuff like that. Like the first step is always like a good mesh, and because my girlfriend has a lot of experience in Blender, it really looks good, and that complements the Unity side, and yeah, that's why I'm actually the most proud of that one because it just looks so good.
I don't think I've gotten a chance to see it yet, but I can't wait to. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. It's public on my profile, so whenever you have a minute, you can always check it out.
Definitely. In both videos, we'll make sure to put in the little description section so everyone can come check it. Hell yes. Hell yes. So, ambition-wise, what is a kind of world that you haven't seen yet that you want to build?
Oh, that's a difficult one actually. Um, um, that's a very good question. I can't really think about anything when it comes to that. Because I mean, in one way or another, we've kind of seen it all, from venues to open worlds to complete imports of game maps to games and such. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure there's like things that are not yet in VRChat, which would be mind blowing the second I see it. But I don't really have something that comes to mind at this moment.
But out of all the worlds you've made, what was the most complicated one that you've worked on?
I think that was my CMOS map. Um, it was about while it actually isn't really that complicated, it was complicated in a way that a lot of the things implemented there were completely new to me. It was excuse me, it was the first map where I actually started writing all my scripts, my own scripts. It's also where I actually started learning C# because I've never programmed in C# before. So in that way, that was my most complicated map.
Okay. Yeah. Power to you. Coding was never my strongest suit when it came to the engineering world, so power to you for that. But for what are some of the big applications though that you could see coming out of VR? Whether it is just VRChat and like how it's kind of a practice for life, but also outside as a tool that VR is.
I'm not sure I understood the question. Could you please repeat it?
Yeah. So like so for a lot of the DJs in here, you know, like right now, we have a lot of our friends playing their first IRL shows out in Oklahoma, right? And so that's definitely an application of VR to the music industry. What other fields would you say VR chat and then to an extension VR as a whole can be applied as?
I think it can. like in the sense like it's a stepping stone to DJing in the real world. It can kind of be a stepping stone for multiple things, depending on who you befriend and what connections you have, right? Because I mean, I also got to play my first real life gig in Edinburgh through two friends I made in VRChat. But like, it can be used for multiple things. Like if you want to, program on VR technology, for example, I mean, just plain and simple, VRChat is always hiring. There's also some kind of stepping stone, right? And there's been some other businesses and communities here in VRChat where that also applies to. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought a bit, but it I'm sure it can be used for a lot of things, and not only VRChat in VR. It's like social VR, or even just social platforms in general. Depending on who you become friends with or who your contacts are, there's always a way.
And then where do you see VR where do you see VR going, or at least just like, I guess not head I guess head mounted device technology, something of that nature, primarily VR technology. Where do you see that going within the next like decade? What do you want to see out of it?
Well, as is per rule of anything technology related, everything will become smaller and smaller, which I think is great. Like if you compare the clunky index to the new big screen VR goggles, like the difference is insane. It's like you're just wearing sunglasses. It's crazy. And I really love that. And I hope like technology like that and different kinds of tracking will improve and like I'm also a big fan of the controller free controlling of VR with the Quest 2, for example, where you just need to pinch and stuff. I hope this also can be used in PC VR related stuff, and maybe not have such clunky controllers or trackers. Like I'm still using the Vive 2 track. I mean, they're still basically hockey pucks attached to my body. So I can see that getting smaller. Maybe even just not even used anymore. It will just get tracked regardless, which would be even better, honestly. So yeah, and I'm sure some more crazy stuff will get invented, and yeah. So technology wise, I can only see it getting better. Like we're only in the early ages, even though the technology is already 5 or 10 years old. It really got some traction since plus minus before COVID, and it's only getting more and more traction. So yeah, I can see it evolve in a positive side.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's like the rule of technology. Is like, I remember back then, like the 1080 Ti was like the hot thing, and now we're at like the 40 something, and so like equate like whatever the VR equivalent of that is, it's like it's gonna be accelerated, So, and,
Yeah.
mhm. It's crazy to think like how much and how far we've gone, considering like what we're doing now was considered science fiction back then for older generations. So,
But you had the
that we
from Nintendo, the Red Boy or whatever it's called. That was like the
yeah.
very first technically VR game. Unfortunately, it would have seemed it was too early in its time. Uh, but Yeah, that was a cool thing.
It's funny that you do bring up Nintendo, because with something uh with the emergent technologies, and I guess now that we have word of the Apple Vision Pro, like where do you see the crux point of like AR versus VR happening, or like something of that nature in terms of technology? Like, do you think that AR would be a more divergent version of it, or do you think people will still stick with VR?
I think it will still depend on the application. For example, for VRChat, there's like having it in AR would be just a loss because like there wouldn't be any more world creation in AR. You're just sitting in your room. Besides, also fun in that, you know. I prefer being some crazy fun world compared to seeing my living room and seeing you sit on my, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think it really will depend on the application, and especially AR. I will see that happen more into like the business side, like business and professional sides, or like I think it's already used in certain cases, like in healthcare, where surgeons are trained with AR, where they can see different organs and what have you. Like also in architecture, you put on the glasses, you can see your maquette on the table, and you can inspect it like that. So in that cases, AR is going to be more important than VR. I think for entertainment purposes, like VRChat and other games like Beat Saber, it's still gonna be VR, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I I understand that sentiment, yeah, where like one can be used in one sense and the other can be used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right now with VR, what do you think is like the number one limiting factor though of VR gaming? Let's go with the gaming side, since I'm pretty sure a lot of us are gamers. So
Mm-hmm. Um, the limiting side, I mean, of the hardware requirement, I'm sure, and also the price. Like, like not a lot of. If you look at only like if you just look at the VRChat player base, um, it only a small fraction of the whole player base actually is on PC VR. Like everyone else is on Quest. Why? Because it's way cheaper. Like who's going to buy a what is it, a 1,000 euro VR kit from Valve if there is a Quest 2 for like 300 euros, you know? And because of that, since there's more people with the Quest 2, the most limiting factor is that game studios need to focus on the mobile VR versions, which, well, it's way less performant than PC VR. And I think there's the biggest limiting factor when it comes to making games, as well as the price. It's still a lot of money, you know.
yeah. Yeah. The development is like the big factor of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
this. Yeah, because as we know now, a lot of things like I feel like with VRChat, like it also gives us an insight into what it takes to develop like that. A lot of other people, as consumers, like don't really get a chance to see. You know, like how to make an asset, and then building, and then writing, and then the rest of everything else to
Mm-hmm.
the game.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I feel like with VR we get that backdoor behind the scenes look into the industry without really
Mm-hmm.
getting having to dive into it. So yeah.
Especially with sandboxes like VRChat, where you have to go into the game engine itself. community to make your own assets. So at least you have a taste of what it's like to making games.
Absolutely. And I guess as one more rounded out closing question then, outside of the rave scene, what are some of your favorite worlds that you enjoy exploring? And or like ones you can always go back to and have some fun with?
Um, Mostly just relaxing worlds. Um, just so I can, talk with my friends and talk about everything and nothing. But sometimes, like almost every Sunday, I join my friends in some home worlds. Like, what's the name of like the artist? Um, Give me just a second. Oh, artsy glitch. Like they have like the worlds like reeds and what is it, cyber love and solar cabins and um those are like some really nice relaxing worlds, and every Sunday we go there, and for the whole evening we just watch cooking videos. Yeah, and it's usually like Asian type, well not always, but like uh, people making cakes, or like people visiting some special hotels like cabin hotels and what have you, and it's just relaxing and watching videos, and sometimes we talk about things, and yeah, that's something I really like. It gives a yeah, it relaxes. And other than that, sometimes like I'll just go world exploring, see what's new, see what cool stuff people come up with, or see what whack stuff people come up with sometimes. Um, so um, yeah, that's about it. Like exploring and relaxing. Sometimes playing some games like what is it, Uno and uh, Among Us. It's really fun in VR compared to just flat screen in VR. It's way more fun. Um, but yeah, nothing much more than that. The usual.
The usual. Whatever that is to any of us here. But yeah. Alright. And then I guess anything you want to close us out with for the audience back at home? Or for those watching, and yeah, those that will watch this.
Um, well, actually, not really. I haven't really anything prepared to say, so thanks for watching.
Definitely. And alright then, I guess the last thing is, where can we find you? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me pretty much everywhere if you type in ROMlist. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on a lot of things. But mainly Twitter and Discord. So yeah,
Alright.
if you ever want to get in contact, Discord, ROMlist, Twitter @ROMlist. Yeah.
Alright. Perfect. And so that's where we're gonna wrap up this session of Black Box. Thank you again, Rome, for coming through and playing and
Yeah,
for
thank you for
this
having me.
awesome conversation. Thank you, Vamp, again for everything, helping build the world, recording. Thank you again for building Echo. Like, I can't wait to see how that recording is gonna look. Yeah. And thank you everyone at home for watching.